Greetings, YouTube. Normally, when I talk about Friday news and the Marvel Casino of Champions, I'm talking about, well, the Marvel Casino of Champions. That is what this channel is now all about, after all. But behind the scenes, I have been following this very important story about the Apple App Store. And who's to say what the direct impact and the timeline will be in MCOC? But in general, I'm guessing those of you watching this don't just play MCOC. Like, a lot of people play multiple games at the same time, even multiple Marvel games. And so if you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, right? Let's get you caught up. So we have an Epic Games versus Apple court case. And the whole idea is that Epic Games was tired of Apple taking so much of their profit, so much of that money. And so Apple said, hey, it's our terms. They agreed to them. I don't see what the problem is. If we have a monopoly on making money, so be it. And we know, especially from MCOC on days like July 4th and Cyber Weekend, Apple will make millions and millions and millions of dollars on those sales. So you can just scroll down for yourself. Judge rules Apple must change its tightly controlled App Store. Well, we can jump to that article, but I'm just going to show you more headlines. A federal judge ordered Apple to dismantle part of the competitive barricade guarding its App Store, threatening one of its biggest money makers. The ruling could potentially also save app developers billions of dollars. Let's go to AP News just so that we are trying to be as, middle tier, generically objective as possible, despite the fact that there's some video about Joe Biden at the bottom. A federal judge ordered Apple to dismantle. Let's close that. There we go. Thanks, pop-ups. Federal judge ordered Apple to dismantle part of the competitive barricade guarding its closely run App Store, threatening one of the iPhone maker's biggest money makers. Such a change could potentially also save app developers, like Kabam, billions of dollars that could encourage them to lower the prices paid by consumers. So why am I doing this video? Well, Kabam likes to say, and I think it's definitely true, as it is for a lot of the reason why you're paying 40 or 50 bucks for a 80% chance for a 5-star is because we're not keeping all that 50 bucks. We're keeping a percentage of it. YouTubers, it's the same way. We all appreciate donations. I mean, if you meet a YouTuber that doesn't appreciate donations, who the heck do they think they are? But we only keep about half of that donation, and then the half that we do keep is also taxed. So really, when you break it down, if somebody donates like $100 to the channel, you might be keeping 20 or 30 bucks of it. But we still, again, that's not to say I would discourage you from supporting content creators. It's a lot of times how we keep the lights on. But at the same time, we are under the same kind of split regarding profits as anybody else. The ruling issued Friday decides an antitrust case brought by Epic Games, best known as the maker of Fortnite, the popular video game played by about 400 million people worldwide. Apple shares dropped on news of the ruling and were down more than 2% in Friday afternoon trading, reflecting investor fears that the ruling would siphon away billions of dollars in annual revenue from the company. The legal battle targeted commissions of up to 30%. Again, 30%, which is actually about how much content creators get taxed whenever we claim our income, since we are small businesses, essentially. The legal battle targeted commissions of up to 30% that Apple charges on digital transactions within apps. Such transactions can include everything from Netflix or Spotify subscriptions to the sale of digital items such as songs, movies, virtual tokens for video games. Boy, where have I seen that before? Epic cast that highly lucrative fee as a price gouging tactic. Wait, boy, we know something about price gouging in MCOC, don't we? That wouldn't be possible if competing stores were allowed to offer iPhone apps. Although the ruling by U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers requires Apple to make some changes in its App Store, it also upheld the company's right to block other stores from offering apps for its iPhone. So that's the tricky part, right? Because you still download the app from either the Google Play or the Apple Store. So Kabam risks maybe if they're saying, Apple, we don't want to give you as much money, then they're like, well, then you don't get to play in our sandbox. It's sort of like when somebody gets kicked off of YouTube and decides to start their own website. Well, you might get some of those people there, but you're not going to get the same traffic because it's going to be a lot harder to find you. Part of what makes Apple and Google Play is that they are at the forefront of where you download apps, of course. She sided with Apple on every other key point of the case, and in particularly didn't find the company is operating an illegal monopoly as Epic has charged. So Epic won an important part of the case, but certainly you can win a battle and still lose a war. We'll see what that means in this case. As the court recognized success is not illegal, Apple said in a statement, Apple faces rigorous competition in every segment in which we do business, and we believe customers and developers choose us because our products and services are the best in the world. Also because we have no other option, right? We choose you because that's how we can play the game. If we have an iPhone and we don't choose the Apple Store, we don't get to play the game. We have to play in the sandbox, and there is no other sandbox right now that we can play in. All right, the California company didn't say whether it would appeal the injunction requiring that iPhone app developers be allowed to offer other payment options. Gonzalez-Rogers also dealt Epic a blow by ruling that the game maker breached its contract with Apple, Rutro, when Fortnite added a non-Apple payment system to its app. That defiance prompted Apple to oust Fortnite from its App Store 13 months ago, triggering Epic's lawsuit. She ordered Epic to pay Apple nearly $3.7 million, or 30% of the revenue it collected, while violating Apple's commissions. That is a bad day for some people. Epic, a privately held company based in Cary, North Carolina, didn't immediately respond to a request for comment, but Epic CEO Tim Sweeney denounced the ruling in a tweet, writing that it isn't a win for developers or for consumers. So, again, part of it's thinking maybe the prices will go down, and part of it's thinking, maybe not. He said Fortnite will return to Apple's App Store once it can offer competitive in-app payments. We will fight on, he added in a subsequent tweet. 185-page ruling caps a trial focused on one of the pillars holding up Apple's $2 trillion empire. Isn't it crazy to say the phrase $2 trillion? When the Apple's late co-founder Steve Jobs began to shape 20 years ago. Since that trial ended 3 months ago, Apple has taken 2 steps to loosen some of its App Store rules, one to settle a lawsuit and another to appease Japanese regulators without altering its commissions. Those concessions make it easier for many apps to prod their users to pay for digital transactions in ways that avoid triggering Apple's fees. AP, thank you. As you can see, we are at the end. So, there is a world that we live in that if enough competitors in the app market were allowed to coexist, prices would go down. This is the reason why, in a lot of ways, like televisions, for example, right? TVs, video games, they've gone down so much overall in price. If you go back to when I started playing the Super Nintendo in like 1995, Super Nintendo, especially when you factor in the cost of inflation, was costing like $200 or $300 for a game and $700 or $800 for a system. Now that's not the case. And TVs, the first 4K TV was like 10 grand. Now you can get a 4K TV for like $300. So in the law of fighting for the diversity of options in the marketplace of ideas, sometimes more supply equals less demand, and less demand equals a lower price point to still make profits. Right now, it does feel like between the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, there's a monopoly on where you can download apps. But are these companies going to be willing to take on Apple, for example, and risk them saying, well, then we're just not going to honor you in our store? And if that's the case, even though they're going to not have to pay the 30% commission, they might actually be losing more money in the long run because not as many people are going to download and play the game, and less people playing means less people spending. So my goal was to get out of here in less than 10 minutes, as it usually is on this channel. Huge news today in the gaming world. I realize this is not a directly Marvel Contest of Champions video, but it certainly is relating to anything you download in the Apple Store, and therefore I wanted to cover it on this channel. I also teach news reporting to my students at Oklahoma State, so it's kind of fun to discuss news items on the channel that kind of impact anybody, not just this specific game that my channel focuses on. Have a great rest of your weekend, YouTube. Thanks for clicking on this video.